Hey everyone, I'm out for my evening walk, and two things I wanted to capture before I forget to capture. Number one, huge shout out to Mental Health America, specifically the Northeast Indiana chapter, for asking me to facilitate a keynote conversation today on developing shame resilience. So huge shout out to that team. Audrey, Tim, Lacey is a part of that, Rick, and everyone involved, especially around a conversation about shame, and for facilitating and supporting doing this through Zoom, which is even harder. But so yeah, thank you for your courage for putting that together and inviting me to the table. Second, there was a question asked during the presentation from a participant. I wish I knew their name because I'd give them credit, but the question that was asked is on my heart, and I want to throw it out there for others because I think it's an amazing and important question to consider. And the question was, is shame an emotion specifically reserved for people that have been through trauma? And I'm paraphrasing, by the way. And the short answer is no. While trauma is a part of my story for sure, and so is shame, and still is, shame is an emotion that is a part of the human experience. So none of us get to tap out of that, even though we want to, for sure. And none of us want to talk about shame. I mean, maybe Brene Brown does, and her facilitators like myself want to talk about it, but and maybe it's because we're talking about it a lot, but it's still hard on us. And to use her words, when it comes to shame, all of us have it. None of us want to talk about it, and the less we talk about it, the more we have it. So none of us get to ride that coaster of life for free when it comes to shame. And shame essentially is the very primitive, dark emotion that we experience as humans when we're afraid and fearful of disconnection. It's the feeling of being flawed, broken, not good enough, and we all experience it. But not talking about it is not the solution. So shame really derives its power from exactly that, not talking about it. So just because it's hard to talk about doesn't mean we have less of those conversations. It means that we have more. So I'm proud of that group with Mental Health America for leaning in and starting that conversation. Let's have more. And again, shame is part of the human experience, and as long as we are connected to each other, I mean, we're wired that way, human beings, our species, the fear of disconnection is something we will struggle with, wondering if that's going to happen, and that invites us to feel shame. So it's complex. It really needs a longer conversation than what I'm giving it, but I want to make sure to put it out there that shame is just not reserved for those that have troubled pasts or traumatic events. Shame is really an emotion that doesn't discriminate, and we all experience it. So I would invite you to get curious about shame, how it shows up in your life, how it shows up in your workplaces. And the reason that's important is, especially with work, and when I think about work, being the workaholic that I am, some of my worst moments at work, specifically as a leader, have been when I've been in shame and had no awareness that I was in shame. And I have pattern ways of managing it and behaviors that would show up for me that were completely out of my integrity, not proud moments. But that's okay. I learned and developed some shame resilience skills. And now the way that I engage with people at work and the world is a little less maybe in your face, aggressive, coming out swinging, because that was my technique, or people pleasing. And now it's from a place of grounded authenticity as best as I can. So if you're curious about the steps of shame resilience, reach out. I'll share them with you. I'll refer content to you. But this is an opportunity right now for us, especially in the midst of this pandemic, to talk about shame and how it's showing up for us. We are not alone in it, for sure, but it's not just reserved for specific groups. Thank you for your courage, especially for those that participated today. Thank you, Mental Health America. Thank you for listening. And yeah, stick it out, stay in there.